So just to, again, welcome to Darren Godwin from Condor Performance for this session on mental toughness being offered to the New South Wales Golf Croquet Development Squad members. So I'll let over to you, Darren. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Really appreciate the wonderful introduction there. I'm going to try share my slides that I have for today. So that should come up now. Is that working, Kate?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thanks for confirming. Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to get to speak with each of you today. My name's Darren. I'm a performance psychologist and I work for Condor Performance. I've been doing this for the last 4 years. Just a bit about myself before we start. I began playing cricket from about the age of 9 and until about 18. And I found it a very valuable and insightful journey. It was something that I strived to do my best I possibly could in the hopes of one day being a professional. Shocking, that's not where I am right now. You're not obviously looking at me on the TV and you're looking at me here, but it was such a valuable journey for me. And I was a part of a lot of junior development squads. And so I feel that, this is a very wonderful full circle moment. Once I was sort of supported to be better, and now I'm in a position where I can support others to improve and be better too. And I felt like I was always drawn to the mental side of the sport, hence why I went to study psychology and found myself in this field here. I find it incredibly interesting just how powerful our mind can be and how much it can either help or hinder our performance. So I hope today that you'll find some really useful information to take from this. Definitely there'll be some practical things to take away, and across the whole 3 video series, I think there'll be lots to do and lots to take away. So let's crack on into it. I'm going to kind of breeze through the first few slides here kind of quickly. They're just introductory things. Not everyone, I guess the challenge for me is I don't know everyone's level of understanding with sport and performance psychology. So I've just very quickly sort of breezed through this here. What is psychology? It's just the study of human behavior. What is it in sport that we're looking at? Well, we're trying to look at research-based mental skills that help performers perform better, help with their performance. That's the main part with sports psychology that differs from other fields of psychology. And we're not just looking to help athletes. As you sort of see here, we support coaches, officials, as well as non-sporting performers, such as surgeons and paramedics and defense force people. So for people that aren't familiar, there's a lot of different specialty areas of psychology. So clinical is sort of the main one. That's the area that's helping people with mental health and well-being at the forefront. Sports psychology, like I just said before, is really trying to understand what are the behaviors and what are the skills that help people perform under pressure. There's a really beautiful image here. I'm not sure how well it can be seen for you. It's a bit small on my screen here, but I think that it sort of depicts the image quite well of what we're working at here, is that in order to be successful at something, there's a lot of things that go into it that are really beneath the surface. We do not typically celebrate these things and we don't hand out trophies for these things, but they are absolutely critical for our ability to perform. So I find it a very great image. Lots of interesting ones in here: patience, planning, courage, feedback, pain, right? All of these types of experiences, which I'm sure each of you at some point in your journey of croquet have probably experienced. So how does the human experience impact performance? Well, we're mostly sort of looking at when there is rigidity or flexibility between our thoughts, emotions, and our actions. Our actions are our behaviors. And when there's sort of rigidity between these things, people find it hard to adapt and cope to the pressures. So an example of that might be, I feel like I need to make this shot. If I don't make this shot, it's at the end of the game. I miss the shot. I become frustrated. I can no longer stay engaged in the rest of the competition, and it disrupts the way that I play. A flexible sort of relationship between these experiences is more one that's open to the different emotions that we can have, flexible with the different thoughts that we have. We don't have to act or react to any one given experience that we have. We can just acknowledge they exist. We can work with them. We can work around them, and we can bring our focus back to the task at hand. So why do we experience discomfort? I might invite anyone here that's sort of willing to perhaps unmute their mic and throw some answers out here. Why do humans experience these things? It seems kind of unfair and cruel. Why do we have uncomfortable experiences?
Who's that talking?
Darren.
Did we have someone?
Sorry, we can't hear if someone's sharing.
There's the microphones. I've sort of default muted everyone. If you want to unmute it, it's sort of the bottom middle. There's a microphone button. It should be in red. If you click it once, left click it once, it should turn gray, and then you should be able to speak. If anyone feels like they have an answer to this or want to contribute something here, I invite you to come forward and give us your thoughts. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about having a discussion and learning together.
Fear of failure and embarrassment.
Fantastic. Yeah. Embarrassment. Why do we have embarrassment?
Failure.
Because we think we think we can do it all right, but then when we fail at it, we feel, oh look, we've either failed ourselves or we've failed someone else that's helped us.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of come in with expectations that something's going to go a particular way or it's going to go great. And if things fall really far short of those expectations, we're like, oh gosh, what have I done? Maybe we let other people down. Thank you for that answer. That was wonderful, Derek. When we look at our biology, our brain's job is to keep us alive. And we've been alive as a species for a very, very long time. And part of what's helped us survive has been our ability to scan the world for danger and find it, even when it might not be obvious if it's there. So what that means is we own a brain that's likely to look at all of the things that could go wrong. We like to catastrophize a little bit, and this is just in our nature. If we compared two people's brains that had to walk through the jungle and survive long ago, one brain that thought, well, I could get hurt, so I'll carry sticks and rocks, and another brain that thought, what a beautiful forest to go and walk through. One was more prepared than the other, and one was more likely to survive than the other. So we tend to have a negative bias in the way that we see things. Now, the other survival mechanism here is that we're social creatures. And what that means is, so we have feelings like embarrassment because we want to belong to a group. And belonging to the group is protective for us. If we had to survive as a group of people living in a city together, we're more likely to be successful at doing that than if we had to do it on our own. So we are very much drawn to want to be valued by one another so that we don't get kicked out of the group. And so therefore we have emotions like embarrassment because they are socially protective. If we're aware of what we're doing and if we're being valuable to people, we're more likely to do things that help us be accepted by the group. All of these things play out in sport, even though there's no lions and tigers on the croquet field or at the club. These human innate things play out over time. Now, it's really important I highlight this because it influences now the strategies that we're going to continue to talk through in this workshop and the next two workshops. So the foundations of our strategies are emotional acceptance, unhooking from thoughts. Unhooking means that we're not entangled in our own thinking, that we can be aware that we have different thoughts, they can exist, but we don't have to believe or we don't have to act on every single thought that we have. So unhooked means we're aware of them, but we can choose whether we act or use those thoughts. Present moment focus is where we're talking about in terms of our focus point. Where do we want to be? We want to be in the present moment as much as possible, particularly from a competing perspective. And we want to be committed to important actions. Important is the key word there, right? It is knowing what is
Well, what's
meaningful
that
for us
password
to
for our
do
app
in that
store?
given moment. And then,
Just Royal.
so give me 1 second, sorry, while I
Yeah.
just try to find the mute button. I've lost it.
Michael.
Mute all, there we go. Okay, mute all button, there we go. All right. Okay, so emotional acceptance. Why this is important? Because you can't immediately change your emotions when you want to, right? This just does not work with our biology. If you are feeling frustrated in the middle of one match, you will not be able to just immediately change the frustration into joy, right? And a lot of us, the reason I have to highlight this is because there's some traps that I hear a lot in this field, and that a lot of people are like, well, if I feel calm and I feel really positive about things, then I will perform better. And while that might be the case when those emotions are present, it is not realistic to be able to always have your emotions feel that particular way. So therefore, we practice emotional acceptance. We are just open to the fact that we're humans that have these different feelings and thoughts, and we're open to experiencing them, but we are not influenced or dictated by them. Similar with our thoughts here, if I say to you, don't think about the color red, what tends to happen is we'll likely think about the color red. If we are engaging in an avoidance strategy, don't think about the color red, think about the color green. I'm thinking about the color green, I'm thinking about the color green. Our focus is taken away from the task at hand, and our focus is solely on avoiding the color red. And so these strategies of avoidance tend to get us into more trouble than any. So we practice openness and flexibility with each of these experiences, and we'll continue to go through more practical ways together of how we can do this. Today is probably going to be a little bit more on the emotional management side of things. And when I say emotional management, we're going to be going upstream a little bit. So we're not waiting for the emotion to happen and then managing it as it happens. That is one form of strategy. We are looking to go in advance of the emotion occurring and going, let me be prepared for those moments so that I am ready to be able to handle them when they happen. So the first real question that I wanted to sort of do together here, and I'm going to type the answers out onto the slide. Oops, go backwards. I'm going to try and type the answers out onto the slide as you say them. I'd like to invite people to educate me. I'm not a croquet expert. I would love for the room here of croquet players to help me understand what makes croquet challenging. And it might not necessarily be technical. It might be something that's unique to you. But could you please help me understand what makes croquet hard?
You have to be very accurate.
Very accurate.
Yeah, you have to be very accurate.
Okay.
So accuracy is a main focus in a game.
Lack of consistency.
Great. How would you define consistency?
Well, you could do a good shot once, twice, even 3 times, and then the next 4 times you do bad shots.
Right. Okay. Accuracy, consistency. So it's not the sport has the type of challenge where you're rewarded for consistently making good shots, as opposed, and you can be in trouble for making 4 good shots and the 5th and 6th not being good shots. Yeah, fantastic. What else can make the sport hard?
Your opponent.
Opponent, great.
Your opponent. The difficulty in being flexible and assessing your opponent's style and trying to adjust your game to get ahead of their style.
Yeah, I love that. That sounds very layered and complex. There's depth to it because it's, can we adapt and can we work out what our opponent's doing and can we work around that or get ahead of it?
Suppose your game plan comes into it. If your game plan,
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
Al
work.
Morphy, Lee and Michael Morphy.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I haven't turned the speakers on.
Yeah, I said that to you. Have you turned the speaker on?
Okay.
It's on.
I'm trying to work out.
Michael.
Yeah, is it Michael?
Yep. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, there's just a bit of background audio from you, that's all.
So choosing the right strategy
Yep,
also makes it difficult. There's never 100%
I'll turn
right
it on.
answer.
yeah. Choosing the right strategy.
I'm really close to the speaker.
Remaining patient.
Patience. Yeah, how does patience help?
Not be too quick to say go for the hoop when we probably should be playing more defence
Mm,
and waiting till you're absolutely sure of the hoop.
gotcha.
I think too, we often have a preconceived idea of the opponent's ability and they're too good for me kind of
Right.
attitude. And
Yep.
when we're up
Can you hear
against
that, Lee?
even start.
Yeah. Yep. So we can already psych ourselves out about the opponent's ability before the game's even begun.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Another one is dealing with an opponent's very lucky shot or a bad luck shot on your own. of
Yeah.
your own, and just getting over it quickly rather than letting it get to you.
Yeah, good one, right? So if there's a bit of luck from an opponent's shot, or if our shot becomes a bit unlucky, how long do we get stuck with that? Because it's I'd say it's very fair and validating to sort of feel that is frustrating, but if we get stuck on it too long, it can impact the rest of our game. Right.
Sharon's comment about the standard of play of your opponent also works in reverse.
Hearing that?
You might think, this will be a walkover.
Yep.
And as a result, you don't concentrate. All of a sudden, you find yourself 3 or 4 hoops behind. Oh, bugger.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a bit of, what leads into something I mentioned at the start, when there's this massive gap between expectation and reality. Oh, I expected that this game would be a walk in the park. I'm now 4 hoops behind. And that is a massive gap that we feel we need to close because just the expectation just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Great.
Another one for me is just trying too hard.
Yes.
Just putting too much pressure on myself.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Overdoing it, trying too hard. Where do you think that comes from?
An expectation of self and not delivering on it at times, and then it sort of gets into a loop.
Yes. Okay, so we expect something really high from ourselves. We've set really high standards, and maybe the standards are fair to some degree, but then at some point it becomes unrealistic to continually kind of push for it. And it's almost like when you try to force it, it doesn't quite work. Is that right?
Worse. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. These are all really good. Accuracy, consistency, our opponent, gauging our opponent, matching our style, adapting to the situations. Do we have a game plan? Are we sticking to that game plan? Choosing the right strategy, patience, psyching ourselves out about, how good the opponent is before the game's even started, dealing with luck or bad luck, good luck or bad luck, whichever way it goes. Maybe telling ourselves that the game is going to be easy, and then potentially also high self expectations and overdoing it. What are some of the challenging situations that you find yourself in croquet, perhaps?
Lots of them.
I'm playing what we call a 13-point game. So the first to win 7 hoops wins the game. I've scored 3 hoops. my opponent scored 5, I really need to knuckle down and claw back that gap.
Right.
Very quickly. Perhaps my game's not been to its usual standard for whatever reason.
Yep.
And getting mentally focused is the thing I find difficult.
I really appreciate that, David. Thank you for sharing that one. And it sounds like that situation could almost be in a variety, like in anyone's game at some point, which is there is almost this pressure to feel like you need to make results happen now to close a gap. And then that creates perhaps a bit of a difficult environment to concentrate in, because when you can only play one shot at a time, it's hard to produce those results. Excellent. Does anyone else have anything that they feel like what's hard situations for them in the game?
Well, you have an easy hoop to make and you think, well, I better get right the way through to the next hoop, and you end up messing up your easy hoop shot. Other people have told me this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thankfully we've got friends, peers, and coaches to point some of these things out for us. Okay, so maybe we get a bit far ahead, and we kind of lose sight of the fact that okay, we just need to kind of make the shot that's in front of us, and maybe we're trying to play too many shots ahead. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, you've got to remember that the game's 13 hoops, so if you lose the first couple, it's not the end of the world. So you really got to focus on the fact that it's not a sprint; it's a long journey. So if a couple down, don't sort of start playing shots that you wouldn't normally play because you're behind. So you just got to be patient and know that there's lots more hoops to play.
Yeah, fantastic, Ray. Appreciate that. Yes, that patience, we're coming back into things here, and I think that's really kind of the emotional composure piece, which is like, when I look at the scoreboard, do like, oh my gosh, like look at this gap I've got to close, or do we go, okay, wait a minute, there's a bigger picture here, the game's not over, and if I can just play the shot that I have in front of me right now until the game closes, that's going to put me in a better spot than actually trying to force this gap closure that we so desperately want.
Dealing with disappointing shots on one's own part, and not performing to one's ability.
Yes,
that's a really challenging situation from there.
Yes, absolutely. And I can imagine that for a lot of people. And so coming from cricket, playing like a ball hitting sport, and now I enjoy golf. And I think golf actually has a lot of crossover with croquet. It's challenging when you've shown yourself that you can hit certain shots, but the difficulty is this consistency word that comes back in is, can I actually repeat this shot time in, time out under any circumstance? And it's very, very difficult to obtain that level of consistency. But yes.
In croquet too, we don't just play singles, we often play doubles, and it's relying on your partner to make a call that you agree with. And if you don't agree with it, it's finding that balance.
Yes. I was wondering where, if this would come into the picture. I wasn't sure if it was doubles or singles and whatnot, but yes, the teamwork element here, the trust element. How do we support each other? How do we respect each other's strengths and weaknesses? And be really kind of committed and competitive in your games, despite us all being different.
Another problem is the game in front of you. If you've got to stop and wait for them, you've then got to refocus when you come back in to play your shots after they've played one or two hoops in front of you.
Yep.
Which is hard to sort of pick up in momentum sometimes.
Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, you really got to forget about your bad shots. A lot of people can't forget about a bad shot, and they're still thinking about it, 2 hoops later. So it's really, a bad shot. Put it out of your mind. It's gone. You can't get it back. Just focus on your next shot.
That's fantastic. That's that present moment focus that I highlighted a couple of slides back, which is so important. It's so difficult, but it's trainable. It's trainable. We can do it. Is just being able to orient ourselves to, where is now? What can I do now? Those shots are gone and I can't get them back. And being frustrated about them and carrying on about them won't actually change the situation that we're in. These are really excellent, and we might leave it here to continue moving forward. It's a fantastic list that I've written down. I wasn't able to add them to the slide in front of me, but I do have them here next to me. So thank you for that. That's wonderful. I wanted to sort of move to sort of understand now what mental toughness means. I've heard quite a variety of different definitions of mental toughness over my time in training and in practice. And, I think older definitions of mental toughness have been more about just pushing through, being hard-headed, being able to just get things done when they need to be done. But I think there's a little bit more kind of nuance to mental toughness now that we understand a bit more. So, sort of looking at this diagram here, we think about it in terms of structure. And so having a solid foundation for mental toughness is mental health and mental well-being. If we think about these structures, if you want, being concrete, the more solid the foundations, the more solid we can build into our mental toughness. I think this one has sort of been a big lesson in terms of mental toughness in the last 10 to 20 years. That in order to develop mental toughness, we do need to be healthy and well. We need to be able to strive and strain in order to build mental toughness. And if we are unwell, then it becomes very difficult to engage in practices that help us develop that mental toughness. So this is a really sort of important thing, structure to keep in mind, that well-being and health is at the foundation of being able to develop mental toughness. So I have, we have at Condor Performance sort of tried to conceptualize some ideas and some areas that develop mental toughness, 6 C's here. So we think of it, this wonderful word that we'd highlighted earlier, consistency. Consistency is, I think, really what we're really all striving for. The ability to know that we can turn up and week in, week out, game in, game out, be able to know what we can get from ourselves. I think that's what we're all striving for. And so the 6 C's we've kind of got here that we think contribute to this consistency is commitment, competitiveness, composure, confidence, concentration, and cohesion. Some really simple definitions next to each of them here. And so we're going to get into breakout groups now. I'm going to just see if I can jump into the meeting controls and organize that. And what I'm going to do is, I think, put people into groups and sort of give them one of the C's. So there'll be probably groups of maybe 3 or 4, and then you'll each have one of these C's that I'll give you. And I'd like you guys to just work in a group to just define how that applies to croquet. Right? And it won't be for too long. It'll be 2 or 3 minutes. So there's another exercise I really want to get into as well. And just come up with some simple ideas for yourself. How does this C apply to croquet? And we'll come back and collate them. So let me just see if I can get the breakout group here. Breakout rooms, here we go. Shuffle, and then, oops. I'll put 3 minutes on the timer, and we'll see how this goes. All right, get ready, open rooms. All right. Has that moved anyone, or is it moving people now? Ah, it's moving now.
Join.
All right. Hello, I'm back here. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. That 3 minutes flew ultra quick. I jumped into.
Certainly did.
I jumped into the last group, and I think I only just told them that they were working on concentration. So I'm sorry about that. That flew really quickly, but I think hopefully we've got some ideas, and whoever sort of didn't get enough time can perhaps think about it, and we can jump in and do it together. So I'm going to just sort of write these down here because I can't quite write on the slides at the same time as I present them. So I'm just going to write them down for myself here. The group that had commitment, group 1, how did commitment apply to croquet for you? The people in group 1 are here. Share my slides again. That comes up. So commitment, determined, driven, good work ethic, effort, generally more related to training than competing is the sort of definition we've sort of started with. How do you think commitment applies to croquet? How does it help croquet? Anyone from that group 1 that's here that can answer on behalf of the group?
Well, we think commitment, basically, you got to give 100% to your game, and you got to practice. So you got to commit yourself to. You just can't come along every now and then. You got to commit yourself, and you got to give your all and practice.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So giving full effort. When does effort drop? Because what I find is when I ask a lot of competitors and athletes about giving 100% effort, it's very hard to give 100% all the time. So where does effort fall off?
When you're tired?
Yep.
When you're physically unwell?
Yep.
The desire goes.
Yep.
When you're not doing well?
Yeah, if you're losing badly, it's hard to commit yourself if you're getting a flogging. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because we all understand that giving effort's going to increase the likelihood of things going better, but it becomes very difficult to do it when things aren't going our way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, Darren, one of the things in croquet is that you can't give 100% all day to all the games. So you actually got to go up and down a bit and choose when you give it.
Yeah, we do play a lot of games in a day. You're right. It's very hard to commit 100% to the whole day.
Yes.
But it's interesting because in a game, you're only playing your shots a certain proportion of the time. So sometimes you can, you need to be able to get up and then just take it down again.
Yes.
So you need to give yourself rests.
Yes, absolutely. Incredibly important to just understand here. Commitment doesn't mean be locked in 100% of the time. It's knowing the right time and the right place to be giving it, and also knowing the right time and the right place to kind of give ourselves the space to kind of just wind down and process and come back.
It's very hard to turn on and turn off. That's part of it. I mean, Leach Adreno was very good at it. You could joke and whatnot, but soon to play his shot, he was focused. It's very difficult. A lot of people to do that. Yeah. If they're joking, they're playing bad. Yes.
Absolutely. And it's very rare that I see an athlete that's able to do that too. That is quite special. Yep. You know, it's sort of a sense of humor about things and then just switch on, you know.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. Great. Let's move on to competitiveness. So group 2, how does competitiveness apply specifically to croquet?
We were discussing basically what's up there: want to win, don't give up, enjoy winning, and motivated to win. And then we were just discussing the importance of practice as being a foundation to that, although that might be more in commitment, having looked at the slide again.
Yeah, no, good one. I think you could probably make an argument that each of these can relate to one another. And I think that they do if we're sort of relating it back to consistency. So, being able, there's competitiveness that probably runs through not just during games, but also, the want to do better in practice.
Kate also mentioned about the challenge and the excitement that comes from competing.
Yeah. yeah, excitement.
We were discussing whether competitiveness is meaning you want to win, which is part of it, but I think the competing in itself has its rewards.
Yes.
It's not simply about the winning. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I think that that's a really important distinction to make, is like, I think where we can be at our best is when we can really appreciate just the process of competing itself, and it's not completely tied to the results. Results are nice, of course, we'd like to get them, but if that's all we're going for, I mean, it's tell me someone that has a 100% win rate, you know, then we're setting ourselves up to be disappointed. But if we can enjoy the process of competing, we've got something that we can sustain. Yeah, great.
Yeah, I think that if you enjoy competing, the dopamine and adrenaline comes into effect, and it's very much a mental high that you get from winning.
Yep.
At the end of the tournament, if you're on at the top of the tournament, it's very exhilarating.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think there's also, if we can have that perspective and that appreciation, I think we're more likely to interpret our own experiences, that dopamine, that adrenaline, we're more likely to interpret them in healthier ways that are more productive. Something we tend to do as humans is we will have the same emotional response but interpret them differently. So the obvious one is nerves. A lot of people go, oh, nerves are bad, but nerves actually physiologically is almost the same as excitement. The only difference is that we tell ourselves that one we don't like and one's nicer. Great. Okay, to the composure group, how does composure apply to croquet? Anyone from group 3?
Well, given all the talking, I suppose I should say something. But I think what we were eventually getting to was that we can do the other 5 C's without any trouble at all. But if we don't maintain our composure during that effort, then we're very, very likely to feed everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, looking through the list here, I mean, what's probably composure is the one that could potentially impact the environment and the people around in the environment a little bit more if we lack the composure, that is. In fact, actually can have positive impacts. If composed people, I think, also help encourage other people to be composed, right? So if we think about this, like if one person in the group's freaking out, then we're all likely to mimic the emotional response. We're more likely to become rattled ourselves. So composure has the opposite effect. You know, if we can maintain composure, then it also benefits the group and the people around us. We can also kind of, like receive it from other people that are doing it. So it is an interesting one. Composure has more of a group interaction. Great. All right, I'm keeping an eye on the time here too. Let's keep moving along. Let's go to confidence. Is anyone here from group 4 doing confidence? Anything that they have to add? How does it apply to croquet?
Just the basics are belief in the shot that you're going to do. You've got to have confidence in it. If you don't have belief in it, chances are not very good of achieving it.
Yep. Full belief in the shot, hey? What gets in the way of it? Again, it's one of these ones where we know what's important, but it's very difficult to do it for every shot throughout the whole game. So what gets in the way?
Little voices.
Think of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I just like what gets in the road is little voices in your head saying, "Oh, I don't know, Michael. This is a really long shot. You sure you can do this?"
Yeah. That is that entanglement in our thoughts that I sort of highlighted at the start. It's a skill that, you know, we don't really teach at all, unless you engage with someone like myself. So, you know, hopefully that's something we get to when we get to the sort of the thought strategy side of things. But yes, so confidence is really about, you know, believing we can do it. A big influencer of confidence that we find is the quality of your practice, right? So teaching ourselves and developing the skill set to be able to execute. is a big helper for confidence.
I think also.
Go ahead, Sharon.
I think also when I play golf, like proper golf, you get the yips on a shot where you stuff it up and you then really second guess yourself from then on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we sort of tend to see then, the behavioral impact is that we're less committed to the shot, right? When we get a bit yippy with a shot, it's like we're sort of stabbing at it and we're not sort of flowing through with it. We get in our own way and we're not really committed to the shot, which I think relates to the confidence piece there. When we're feeling confident, we really commit to the shots that we're hitting.
That's right.
All right, moving to the concentration group. Is it group 5? I'm sorry, I gave you guys very little time to think about this, but if you want to jump in and share your thoughts, please, anyone from group 5.
We didn't really have much conversation there.
I know,
The
I'm so
microphones weren't
sorry.
working, so we didn't really get on board too much.
That's okay. We could probably all agree concentration is probably maybe the most intuitive one on here, right? It's just our ability to focus on the task at hand, right? And that is a big part of the research of elite performers, people that perform well under pressure. They don't experience less emotion than anyone else. They don't experience less thought activity than anyone else. Their ability to focus on the task at hand is exceptional. It's very, very consistent across the research that elite performers that perform under pressure focus on the task very well.
That's right. I think that each shot can be different and you have to focus on your own procedure for each shot.
Yes.
Like a jump shot will be different to a roquet or running a hoop. So they are different procedures.
Yes.
And you have to keep maintain focus on that procedure for that shot. So yeah, concentration does come into it there.
Absolutely. Yes. And you sort of highlighted there the procedure, and we take a very process focused approach. And again, this is sort of going to probably lead more into workshop 2. Like we can use routines and processes that we have to help funnel our concentration into the task at hand. So good one. We'll leave cohesion alone. There wasn't a group 6. Cohesion is essentially, as you can imagine, sort of the teamwork aspect of things. And teamwork doesn't necessarily mean when players 1 and 2 are playing together, how well do they get along. Cohesion extends further than that. Cohesion can be your connection with your coach, your connection with your club, and the community abroad. So cohesion kind of encompasses that side of things too. We won't dive too much more into that. Again, looking at the time, and there's other activities I want to get through. So these were each of the C's I was going to write there, but I can't write on the slides as I'm presenting. So the next question, why are we part of the development squad? So I want to kind of position this image that you are in a process of movement in your croquet career. So what is it? Why are we wanting to be part of the development squad?
To improve our croquet.
Right. Take our game to another level. Yeah. Is it
to learn from more experienced and competent players, and to pick up extra tips and techniques that we're not currently using?
Yeah.
So to learn from other people, basically.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So is it safe to say that the majority of people here are here because it's something to do with wanting to progress their game further, wanting to learn, wanting to just keep progressing down that path of mastery a little bit more?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Build confidence.
Build confidence. Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting one, right? Like, so the scary thing is to try to embark on the mission to improve your game. That's scary because you have to go out and try find something in yourself that you haven't proven that you can do yet. but that is what builds confidence. So it's
Yeah,
very
if you play against better players, Darren, that will help you improve your game. That's the idea. I think a lot of people be in the development squad. There's a core of people, so you're playing against a better quality people, and that'll bring out the best in your game.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. There's something deeply rewarding about being able to embrace a challenge and to be able to really feel that sense of progress and feel yourself get better. So just some imagery here about the journey. I'm just kind of going to go through 3 images, different perspectives about how we look at this. And I'm just kind of curious to quickly gauge with you how you guys view your own journey that you're on. So picture 1 here. Road, bit of fog, it's leading somewhere. Maybe, you know, do we kind of view this journey like I'm kind of like, there's something out there, I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm kind of following the road and see where it goes. Another perspective. This is exciting. It's a bit thrilling. It's a little bit dangerous, but it's mostly kind of just like, yeah, I'm kind of in this because it's a fun ride. And then last one here is a picture of Mount Everest. It's like, are we kind of seeing the journey again of going through the development squad, trying to go on this mission of improving our ability to, are we aware actually that we're looking up at a challenge and going, oh, it's going to be hard, but man, I think it's worth it. Maybe there's concerns and worries that come with it. Curious, can anyone jump in and sort of describe to me, you know, do any of these pictures resonate with them in terms of the way they see their journey, or is it something else?
I think, first of all, you have to recognize what your journey is. Then you have to have a plan on how you're going to get there. And then you have to decide what your end goal is.
Fantastic.
That's my basic idea.
Yeah, it's almost like you've seen my slides, Brian. You're some of those things are on the coming slides. Well done.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's one thing to sort of look at the end point, right? And it's another thing to create an actual action plan that gets you there. And so, you know, we'll sort of get to the goal setting piece here in a bit. Does anyone sort of, are they looking at their journey with an understanding that it's challenging?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, great. I think that's completely healthy and normal here, because when we look at what elite athletes do to continuously improve, they are more outside their comfort zone than inside their comfort zone, because that is where the opportunities to learn and grow come from. The mistake or the message that we get mixed up is that we tend to associate discomfort with bad, right? And that's not always the case, and that's not necessarily the case if you experience that along this journey. You know, we are on a complicated journey. We're on the one to go find what continuous improvement looks like. What does learning look like? We're going to have to go outside our comfort zone to get there. And what's most important here is what, you know, sort of bolded the word here: willingness. This is why we have emotional acceptance as a core part of our strategy, is because we cannot avoid or get around this reality that as human beings, we experience discomfort when we pursue challenges and we want to grow and we want to learn. It is inherently uncomfortable, not in a bad way, in a way that's helping us grow. And so we're trying to work with the willingness and the openness to experience some of those things. So, Brian, a bit like you mentioned before, goals. What are the goals? And I think the important piece I want to insert here is values. So let's start with defining goals. What's a goal?
It's something you want to achieve.
Achieve. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah. Something we want to achieve. It's at a point in the future, I'm guessing. We're achieving it. We're striving for something in the future. We want to achieve it. Would we say goals results? Like outcome oriented in nature, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think that this development squad is for the state selection. So I think the ultimate goal of everybody's achievements here is to be selected for that state team.
Yep.
So yeah, that would be a goal.
Yep. Fantastic.
I think also a goal could be the journey to reducing your handicap, to getting better and better and lowering it.
Yep. Great. All exceptional definitions and examples of goals. What about values then? So what's values? If they're different to goals, how do they differ? What's a value?
Well, the value would be to remain committed to the goal.
Okay. Commitment and achievement perhaps could be values. We could value achievement. Yeah.
Yep.
It would be respecting all other players as well.
Respect is a value. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be your behaviour on the court.
Yes. Yes. Sportsmanship or our conduct.
Leadership.
Yep. Yep. What does that make a value itself though? Because it's kind of not quite a goal. I mean, you can, as I'm sort of alluding to here, you can kind of mix the two together. You can have values intertwined with your goals. And I think sort of a value for me is it's a principle that guides the action that we take. That's the way I like to think about values. So it's not a particular endpoint. If you have a value of respect, it's not that you respect someone for 5 minutes and then go, tick, I've completed my goal of respect and I don't need to respect anyone else now for the next 30 minutes. So goals are a little bit more result oriented for me, and values are a little bit more about principles. And so there's no real endpoint to a value. There could be an endpoint to a goal. You accomplish the goal, you don't accomplish the goal, we've got to move on. Or create another goal. The reason why it's important to incorporate values is because values help us build the resilience to stand up when it's tough. It expands our capacity to embrace the discomfort. And it's important because of the slides before where we're saying, hey, this journey is going to be about embracing the discomfort. But how do we embrace the discomfort? Goals aren't always there. They're not always going to hold up for us. If you have a value of achievement, maybe it might. But goals themselves don't help us endure things that are difficult. Values will help us endure things that are difficult. And in the studies of people that set goals versus people that have values and goals intertwined, people that just accomplish goals or just seek after goals, they're more likely to run into burnout. They're more likely to stop what they're doing sooner. They're more likely to find themselves struggling with the difficulties, whereas people that have values embedded goals, they tend to be able to be more resilient and stay in it for longer and avoid burnout, essentially. So my sort of example for this is a broken glass analogy. Walking across broken glass with bare feet is extremely unsettling and uncomfortable. So if it was just for goals, would you walk across broken glass for your goals? Because that's quite uncomfortable. Maybe not. Maybe some will, maybe some won't. But in terms of embracing discomfort, if we're connected with our values, we're going to be willing to tolerate anything or a lot. Human beings can handle a lot of discomfort if they're connected with their values. So we don't have to go through this particular example. Again, I'm mindful of our time, got some other activities I'd like to quickly go through before we finish. But that piece I sort of want to make clear, right, where values embedded goals are really important. I might come back to this one if we think we've got a bit of time. I wanted to kind of leave you with this to practice here, which is, I think a training journal is an exceptional tool and skill that we can all practice and use. So this is something I wanted to leave you with today and encourage you to begin one if you haven't. Why they're important is because you can put your goals and your values down in them. And I like to sort of have them sort of on the front page of the goals. And so you can always come back to the front page of your journal and acknowledge that those things are there. You can define the purpose of your practice. You can continue to evaluate the quality of your practice, and you can keep yourself accountable to the things that you're saying are most important to you in your development. And I think that this skill and strategy in itself is super important in the process of learning, because it's going to be very easy to wander off the path here. So I've come up with an example. You know, you could put goals. I think someone gave an interesting one before, be part of the state team. I've just sort of put a national level generic goal in here, but something that's out in the future that we're aspiring towards. That's the goals. I've sort of given an example here of some values: hard work, respect, authenticity. Hard work, I really want to show up to training and put in the effort, and I'll do the drills, and I'll even do a little bit of extra. Willing to work hard to get better. Respect is the way I want to interact with my peers, opponents, respect the sport itself even. Authenticity, I want to do it in a way that's genuine to me. Like the example we said before, if you're someone that likes to have a bit of a laugh and get along with people, okay. Then in that case, be yourself. So then sort of defining what does really good practice look like? What does high quality practice look like? Being on time, again, these are aligned with values. Respect for other people, I'm going to be on time. Keeping my composure, respect for people, the sport. Being a fun teammate to be around, maybe that's authenticity, that's who I want to be. Having full concentration for each and every drill, maybe that's part of hard work. You can define again in your training journal here, what is it that I'm working on? You can rate it for yourself. How did I do with that at the end of my training session? Did I work on the things that I said I was going to work on? Did I stay committed to the things that I said I was working on? If we can do this and we can keep ourselves accountable for the things that we're working on over time, you'll be surprised at how quickly improvements can come. So that's something practical. Again, I'm just keeping an eye on the time here. Something practical I wanted to make sure I leave with you before today finishes. If we've got time, we can go back and do the other drill. But did anyone have any questions about training journals before I go back?
What was the previous slide, the last point I've been?
Yes, it's keep yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm. Good. I think these are very valuable sort of principles to come away.
Yes.
I agree with this journal idea you've got.
Fantastic. Again, I want today to sort of orient you on your journey. It's like, what is mental toughness? What does it look like to look up the hill that you're looking up, look up the mountain you're looking up? What is it to embrace the discomforts that come along on this journey? How do we keep ourselves focused on the right things and keep ourselves accountable to what matters? And goals and values being a really key part of that. So if there's something I was encouraging you to do at the end of today to work on, I'm not gonna be chasing you down for homework next week. Okay, so this is for your own benefit. I'm encouraging you to engage in it at your own will, because it's going to be an opportunity to be better at something that you really care about. So try write down some goals and values for yourselves and establish a training journal. Now, Kate, I just wondered if you're still here. Should we leave it here for today, or does everyone have time perhaps to kind of complete an exercise that I had in mind here? Just ran out of time. What do you think?
So how long do you think the exercise will take? Is it a small group discussion, or is it a...
I think for the essence of time, I think we could just try to do it all together. And I think we could maybe do it in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, too long.
Yeah.
So what is the group?
Yeah, do it next week.
Okay, no problems.
So yeah, no, I think we set an hour, so that I think that's great to check that.
Yep, no
and
problem.
we can leave it there. And it's great that you've left people with something to go away and work on. I'll have a look. There are some training journals on the Academy website. I'll see if there's anything that might be helpful for people, but otherwise I'm sure they can sort something themselves.
No problem. Great.
Right.
Any questions before we go?
Just a word to Kate. A couple of years ago, Alec Verge done a PPEP program.
Yep.
That had a pretty good training journal in it?
I'll have a look at that. Some of that I've used in my PACE booklets as well, Brian. But yeah, I didn't. There's not a lot of space to write things. But yeah, I'll have a look at that. Yeah, I've got that information. Thanks.
Alex isn't very comfortable with people taking her work and using it unless she's sort of been sponsoring that. So, but anyway, we've got a pretty good guide on how to do a training journal here. I mean, it's just doing it is probably more important than what it is.
Indeed. I totally agree, Steve. Yep. Cool.
And great job today. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, very good.
Excellent.
Well
Thanks,
done,
guys.
Darren.
You've been awesome. You've been an awesome group. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward
Thanks,
to
Darren.
the next one.